Evening, everybody, and welcome to our July 8th meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hope everyone's enjoying this nice summer weather. We'll start with additions and deletions. David.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to add action item number 3, which is a resolution for a right of refusal to purchase a tax foreclosed property.
Second. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions on or comments regarding this addition? It's, a foreclosed property. It went through the chain, came to us, and as we'll discuss, if this gets added, we think it's worth picking up for the foreclosure amount and turning it around. So it's a benefit for us. Hearing none, we have a motion to add action item number 3, resolution for right of refusal to purchase tax foreclosed property. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have action item number 3. Let's see. Anything else? Kyle?
A motion to delete action item number 1, special land use, 23285 Meridian. There was just a couple things the board had questions about that we weren't able to get answers for today. So
Second.
Thank you.
yeah,
Go ahead.
there's just a couple things members of the board had questions about that we weren't able to get answers for today. So hoping to do it next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I would just say this is not going away. It's coming back, but it wasn't ready for the board to take action on tonight. Any other comments or questions on that? Hearing none, we have a motion to delete action item number 1, special land use, 23285 Meridian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is deleted for tonight. All right.
I hope somebody notified you.
Oh, they did.
Okay, that's just
I think, yeah, we tried
in the
to
middle of nowhere.
tried to get the word out to everybody.
Nice place. I don't mind making the drive.
All right. With that, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve?
Support.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our agenda as amended is approved. All right, we don't have any presentations today. We have public comment on agenda items. 3 minutes, name and address. Same as usual.
All right.
How are you, Greg?
Good, Jim. Thank you. Greg Karmazin, 21228 Easter Road. I wanted to raise some concerns about a consent agenda item. Specifically, this would be the item number 4, the 3-year proposal for OPEB actuarial valuation. And the company, the firm, that consulting firm that is being proposed to do this work, GRS, has been engaged with the Township to do consulting work on benefits analysis in the past. And I've got a couple concerns about approving this contract for 3 years. First of all, I think it would be probably best to give the next Township Board the opportunity to review any consulting contract that's coming up at this point if you're talking about a multi-year commitment. And, we're getting to the point where, on the calendar where we are going to have a new board within 5 months. And, you know, I think if we're going to bind a board in the future to a decision made now, you know, it raises some concerns. Specifically, though, in the case of this consulting contract, GRS, as I understand it, was a consulting firm that did evaluation of the police union's contract several years ago. And this came up about 4 years ago. This came up about the value of the benefits in a collective bargaining agreement that I believe that the then township manager, not our current township manager, raised concerns about continuing and as interpreted in a way that was different than what the negotiation yielded according to the police union. So needless to say, it resulted in litigation. And GRS was cited as the basis for a evaluation of those benefits that I believe they came up with a figure of $6.2 million. And as it turned out, 4 years later, that contract with the police union was renegotiated, and the union actually gave a concession that I believe took that benefit that they had evaluated out of consideration for future contracts, and it was essentially adopting what the township wanted. But the concern I've got is that GRS was cited as valuing this benefit at $6.2 million, and in reality, as I'm told, understanding from credible sources, that in reality it was about $40,000. And the litigation that resulted from the township's use of this consulting report resulted in about $190,000 litigation costs, ultimately for a failed litigation that went to the Michigan Court of Appeals, and also the Michigan Employment Relations Commission took action against the township. In both cases, it was a unanimous decision against the township. So I would just raise a concern as to whether we want to continue with this consulting firm, and also whether it should be competitively bid too, because I believe this is a continuation contract, and I think competitive bidding is usually the best course of action. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jim, I've got a follow-up on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't know if this is the same, or should I, this is about what he just said.
Go ahead,
Is
go
that
ahead.
Okay, and I apologize
Yep.
there, Kevin. The question that I had, Jim, when I was reading this is I get the 3-year, and I wasn't happy, obviously, with some of the things that happened previous to this, because obviously we know what happened on both issues with management and the union. But one of the points is that it's a consultant, and I don't know, maybe you guys can educate me on this, but our consultants are usually year to year, and if we want to change a consultant, we do the review, we put out the RFQ or RFP, whatever is applicable in that area. But this is 3 years. How did we come up with a 3-year? I mean, I would be happy and have no problem with 1 year, even though I wasn't happy with this firm, because the next board that comes in, there's going to be at least 6 different positions. Now, they might not be different people, but there's going to be 6 different positions that are going to be filled. And I know that they're going to be looking at consultants and not so much contracts, because like the POAM contract and the TPOAM contract, those go for so many years, and we abide by them. But the consultants are always year to year. So is there a reason that this is now 3 years?
And I'll defer, Derek, do you know, or David? Are you
Well, I
familiar
believe
with
the
why it's
last
3 years?
contract was a 3-year contract.
Is it because it's an actuarial and there aren't that many actuarial
Well,
firms?
I can tell you that, and I'm not familiar with some of the details of what happened
That's
during Greg's,
yeah.
what Greg described. Gable Roeder is probably the premier actuarial firm when it comes to municipality retirement plans, whether it's and post-retirement, which is the OPEB, it's post-retirement benefits. They already have all of our data, they're the actuarial firm that handles the MERS retirement system. And that's, I mean, basically, they are the only, unless you go to a much, much larger, an Ernst & Young or, to my
Are they the
knowledge.
only 3-year, David, would you know?
Huh?
Are they the only 3-year contract within the township that's in a consultant, though? Because I thought our consultants were year to year.
Oh, they can be whatever
They can
we
be
want.
whatever
We normally, with our CPA attorney, we do a year to year.
So they made a,
And this is, I'm hearing that this is what we had with them previously too.
Right.
Because we have to use them for various actuarial reports that we have to do.
if it is the pleasure of the board to go with a 12-month agreement with them, I'm sure we can take that back to them and state that that was the only, extent of the contract that the board was receptive to. But
And yeah, I'm thinking that it's probably 3 because it was 3 before.
That's
That
my
probably
understanding
wasn't
as well.
even really
They
discussed.
might be the only consultant that I know does 3 then. I mean, I don't know why they would get 3 and,
Yeah,
I think that.
I'm not aware of any others that
Gentleman
have
here that's in the room is a
greater than
consultant and he,
12-month.
he'd love 3. I don't think you get 3 though, where you did.
Well, it's a different ballgame.
Well, and speaking
what I mean?
speaking of the treasurer's point, it's a point well stated that Gabriel Roeder is kind of, the premier actuarial
In
company
this
out
area.
there.
So-
They do a lot of work. There's some smaller other companies out there, but, they are well respected.
For municipal work.
Right.
Well, I don't know how you gentlemen and, oh, I'm sorry, she's not here tonight. I was gonna say, and lady feel. But I just am happy with one, but go ahead and do what you've got to do then, but,
Any other comments? No, not yet. We're
Okay,
upon comments from the board.
I did have a question about the increase in funding. If that, it was only 500, I guess, but was that budgeted for, or we didn't expect that? Anyway, that was, I'd like
Yeah.
to maybe pull it until we get some of these questions answered on that
But,
too.
and we certainly can do that.
500 would be fall into additional fiscal years,
Yeah.
future
Right.
fiscal years.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no, it would have to be considered in other years' budgets. And just to be clear, this is a requirement. We have to do actuarial valuations on OPEB liabilities. So this is a compliance issue. That's why it's being presented to the board for approval.
Is there any problem with
Not
it?
that I'm aware of. I didn't mention that because I'm concerned if it's not approved, that it's going to violate anything. I'm just stating for the general public that the reason we do this is because we're required by law to comply and provide.
Right, and we have to have a certified actuarial firm do it. We can't,
But the report's coming out next
they're
summer,
already in the
right?
middle of
Well-
something, right? So I get it. They're in the middle of something by state
Right.
law, right? I get that.
Right, yeah, I mean, the
I have no issue with
reports that we have to generate with this is not at
Yeah.
our bequest,
Right,
it's
right.
at the state, so.
I understand that, and
Yeah.
I get that's why I would give them the next year, but because they are already doing work, and I get that. We voted it in at one time, and
And in that whole thing that was spoken, well, there were all kinds of numbers being thrown around. The number that they came up with was based on an actuarial basis, and other ones did it all kinds of different ways. So it wasn't apples to apples. People were talking about different things and coming up with numbers based on different factors. So that was part of what threw a monkey wrench in that whole thing also. But certainly, if there was something to show that they actually computed it wrong based on what they were doing versus they came up with a different number than somebody else who did a computation some other way. That's two different things. Go ahead, David.
The other thing in here is that they do a complete actuarial valuation for the post-retirement benefits is required every 3 years. The year that just ended was the first of those years, and the 2 succeeding years, which would be 25 and 26, is just an update. It's not a complete actuarial valuation for those 2 succeeding years. So I think if we were going to change, the time to change would be, or to review whether we want to continue with them, would be from a cost standpoint as we're approaching the 3rd year of this contract. Because they're only doing reviews, it's like a mini valuation as opposed to the full valuation. So the time to do it would be to start, when we start the new 3-year cycle with a complete valuation.
Other comments?
Dave, if that's accurate, then I would have difficulty understanding a professional coming in without doing a baseline as to where we were last year, so that when we talk about updates, they're confident in the numbers.
That's what they would have to do.
And that's what
They'd
they
have
would
to
have to
sta-
do.
Basically,
They'd start all over.
new firm would have to start all over.
So we're paying twice for the same work.
Correct. And probably more than that, because it would be the first year, which is typically more, because you have to gather all the data.
So I'm looking at having the same work done twice and then annual renewals. It almost seems to be self-perpetuating. Because
Well, it
once
is,
somebody is in here, it's cheaper, much easier for them to continue to do the updates. I frankly agree with Joe that I think that the board should be able to make those decisions as opposed to being bound by 3 years, but it strikes me that this is circumstances that's a lot different than hiring a labor lawyer or hiring a general counsel. I'm trying to find a balance there that makes sense. And if we're going to be paying twice for the same work, that strikes me as a waste of money.
So if we approve this, let's say for 1 year, rather than 3 years, where are we at? We got our first year and we got our, for a year, all we're
2
approving
reviews.
is 24. If we just said, instead of 3 years, we said 1 year, we'd just be approving what,
24.
filling up 24.
Right, so and then the subsequent years, if you decided to go with a different vendor, would be at the lower, potentially lower cost because the level of work that they have to do
No,
is.
because they wouldn't, they'd have to redo
A new
everything
full-
because
new
they
firm.
didn't do.
What you're saying is they wouldn't be able to use Gabriel Roeder's
Correct.
actuarial results
would
to
be-
do their updates.
They would
Technically, they're
be-
required to match the numbers
Gotcha.
as close as they can.
Gotcha.
So that's the problem with not following through.
Right.
But we could do a 1 year and then if
And
it
you
says,
could do 1 year, 1 year, 1 year.
yeah, so it gives us more options.
I don't have a problem changing that action item to 1 year.
Yeah, so if you look at page 55, it'll show you the first year, the cost of $15,000, then you have the subsequent years of $8,000, because the workload is less in those second and third years. The issue and the complication with that is in the second year, you're gonna have somebody incur the cost of the $15,000 or a
Well,
potential
and
different
actually, it'd probably
cost.
be more because they don't even have the information that since Gabriel Roeder has been doing this, they have all that history that new guy's not gonna have, but that. Wow.
I still think the prudent thing to do is to do this 3-year period, a full valuation, 2 reviews or mini valuations, and then put it out. So you'd put it out for the year ended 3/31/27.
And essentially, the cost difference is $8,000, if I'm understanding that correctly.
No,
Well, when I look at, or $7,000, when I look at the actuarial funding valuation, the fees were $15,000 and $8,800 for the updates.
that's for them.
That is correct.
That's not going out for a new guy.
Do we have any idea what anybody else would charge? I mean, I'm thinking 1 year
I
makes
was looking,
sense.
well, all I can say is if I was looking for an actuary for municipal work, I wouldn't go to anybody else in the state.
And
Because smaller firms won't be, they'll
Won't
turn
do.
it down because, quite
They can't.
frankly, working with, because I had municipal clients, and working with boards and commissions is a pain and increases the cost substantially.
May I
And
make
smaller
a,
firms aren't gonna be able, they don't have the,
Manpower.
yeah, may I make a process suggestion? Is there any way we can pull this out of the consent agenda and just, and vote this as an action item?
Again, I go back to, do we know if this has to be approved this meeting?
I don't believe so. I think we can wait till the second meeting in July if that's the
Then
pleasure of the
I
board.
think the smarter thing
Well-
to do is to pull it out of the consent agenda and have it ready, have the explanations from Teresa as to the 3-year, for sure, as to why we're doing that. And then it just comes down to how much do you trust
What are we getting? and,
them?
you know.
And like Dave says, I'm familiar with them too, and they are a premier
We do good work.
company, so.
Joe, is
Is
Joe
it-
making a motion then, or?
Is
I move to table consent agenda item number 3.
support. Number 3 or 4?
It's number 4, apologies.
Okay. Number 4.
It's just a 3-year at the beginning of the
Yeah.
sentence, so.
Number 4 is
right.
3-year proposal. Yeah. Okay, so, all right. With that, we'll go back to public comment.
Do we vote, or
You should vote.
do we vote on that, Jim?
We should, I'm sorry, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. There are 6 of us. 5, yay. Nay. All right. All right. Bill Heil had his hand up first.
My name's Bill Heil. I live on East River. I'm not up here to beat a dead horse on this other issue, but while it's still fresh, the question at hand that was raised was, why don't we do them all on a 1-year basis, or what makes one different than the other? And to graphically just make a point quick, it's one thing to buy X number of gallons of aviation fuel. That's pretty standard. If you have the specs, it has to meet them. You have others who are asked to give judgment, and you have a circumstance that has to be dealt with. These people who do this have different styles in the way they think, and some people fit better with one firm or with another. And over a long period of time, some of the people who were there either by the user of the service or the provider of the service will change. There is a bit of a cost involved on occasion, but what you need is a working relationship. And it has benefit to a point, but reviewing it from time to time also has merit, and you'll have to make that decision. But I just wanted to put that focus into your thoughts for the future.
Thank you, Bill.
Mickey Bartlett, Voigt. And before I start, I always talk about my family, and I talk about the one guy, Brian. I dragged him along tonight, and he's going to pretend like he's not looking up the whole time. But
I think he's asleep.
he tried to walk out, and I brought him back. But on the case with this, with your actuary, it's very common to do 3 years because the amount of upfront work that they have to do to clean your data, to negotiate the agreement and everything else, they're willing to eat that cost but spread it over 3 years. So keep in mind, if you go from 3 to 1, you're going to end up paying a lot more for that year, and then the next time you're going to say, well, maybe we should have gone 3 years. So 3 years is very normal for an actuarial firm. Also, I know there was an issue with the police department and the valuation, and I wasn't involved, but I wonder if the difference, if they were liability for that OPEB.
It's in the past and done.
Right.
And it was a messy issue.
Okay, but lots of times, when you're talking to an actuary, you're speaking a different language, and it's very easy to get that confused. I also think Mr. Nettle is right in that you want to find one that fits your size and that you're a municipality. I don't think it's unusual to single source an actuarial firm that you've already established that relationship with. I've seen it with actuaries, with record keepers, and those type of agreements. There's just a ton of work that goes involved in changing. And then what I've seen is maybe if for some reason they're not providing the sources that you want, then the next 3-year agreement, you'll look to outbid that and include more firms. So just wanted to mention that. So thank you.
Well, we will keep that in mind when this comes back to us. Thank you. I thought I saw a hand in back.
Kevin Flavin, Park Lane. To continue with this, the actuarial, choosing an actuary and how long we sign a contract for. I've noticed over the last year or so, we have done continuations of contracts that have not gone out to bid. And my thought is we have had the same yo and yo for our during the audit. It does make sense to me to go out to bid for these different items, since we do have a new board, a number of new board members will be elected this year. I think it does make sense to consider who else is available to do this, and whether it would make sense to do it at a less, or whether we could find it for a less expensive way to go. And going forward, I hope that we continue to look or put out to bid these different items. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I absolutely agree with going out to bid on things and not keeping things for 20, 30 years just because we got them once and now we're done. That's not a good way to do it. Kathy, I thought I saw your hand back there.
I'm happy to wait. Kathy Walker, 26051 Thorpe Court. I'm here tonight to thank the board and staff and for the kayak launch, coming back, resurrecting it, and bringing it back to life, and for the 4th of July. We had 13 comments and 144 likes, which is no small feat, and I went down there tonight. And if I could, is this thing on, Brian? Yeah, it is.
Nope,
I
not
stopped
yet.
by to show you how good it looks. Now, it's smaller than we kayak did it, but we don't need, we're not going to have 50 people coming there. Let's see. Because I want to encourage everybody to use it. People love to kayak, and just to clarify, because a lot of times they talk about the current. If they have any questions about how we have a reverse
Kath,
current there.
I hate to interrupt you.
Oh, okay.
But where is this on the agenda?
This wasn't the agenda. I thought this was just any old thing.
No.
Oh, I'll be quiet.
Oh, no, we'll see you later.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought this, well, we're ready.
I apologize.
We got half of it done.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
It's under the Wayne County Community Development Block Grant Agreement.
Pardon me?
It's under the Wayne County Community Development Block Grant.
All right, with that, we'll move to the consent agenda. David?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 24-034, which consists of minutes of the June 24th, 2024 regular meeting, check registers dated through June 28th, 2024, the amended Yo and Yo engagement letter, Downtown Development Authority resignation, Downtown Development Authority appointment, a lot split reconfiguration of vacant Hickory Drive number 386, and approval of the 2024 Community Development Block Grant subsequent subrecipient agreement.
Support?
Thank you. Comments on the consent agenda?
I do have one question on number 3, the amended Yo and Yo engagement letter. Teresa does great in the financial impact. She lists where the money comes from and what needs to be moved around to make something happen. I just want to understand exactly what needed to be happening for the Yo and Yo one. It looks like some might be taken from the airport fund, and then there's just all these different numbers there. So I was just hoping someone could explain that to me.
There's an additional audit requirement if you receive over, I believe it's $750,000 from the federal government. And because we took, for the taxiway last year on the airport, we took $5 million or $5.5 million in the Fed funds. So that required an additional single audit report just for that federal money.
Gotcha. So we're taking for the airport because of the federal money they received.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And she had to move things around as spelled out in the.
And then the rest that's taken from the general fund is just for the COVID funds and stuff that we overspent. Gotcha. Okay. That's helpful for me to know. Thank you.
Other comments? All right. Seeing none, we have a motion to approve consent agenda 24-034, which consists of minutes of the June 24th, 2024 regular meeting, check register dated through June 28th, 2024, amended Yo and Yo engagement letter, Downtown Development Authority resignation, Downtown Development Authority appointment, lot split reconfiguration of vacant Hickory Drive number 386, and approval of the 2024 CDBG subrecipient agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have our consent agenda. All right. We have a couple of action items tonight. Our first action item was deleted. So we have action item number 2 was the purchase of a drone. Joe?
Recommend Township Board approval for the purchase of a DJI Matrix 30T M30T complete drone from American Air Operations for $13,989.60.
Support.
Okay, go ahead,
Oh,
Joe.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
American Air Operations is partnered with the largest distributor of drones in the United States, with access to the largest inventory of drones in the nation. AAO is GIPD's drone training vendor. The purchase of the DJI Matrix complete kit for $13,989.60 would be paid with federal forfeiture funds. Included are the remote controller, battery station and batteries, necessary cables, the DJI Matrix 30T drone with thermal imaging, a searchlight and broadcasting system, as well as exam preparation for the Federal Aviation Administration's Unmanned Aircraft General -small UAG aeronautical knowledge exam up to 5 officers.
Okay, I just have a very simple question. We have
Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Second?
Oh, it was.
I didn't know if I did.
No, it was
a
already
second?
seconded. It was seconded.
Okay.
Dave did.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Why do we need this?
Well, one of the issues, Jim. Oh,
Yeah.
can I?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say.
I was-
Yeah, one of the issues is approximately 10 years ago, as it states in here, I purchased a drone, and we were one of the first ones to have it in the whole area. And we used it just a couple of times, and we actually Also, Trenton had an emergency at a building that they asked us to bring it over, and we did. And we helped them out greatly on that because they couldn't get a view from above. What this has in it, the drones today, there are so many different aspects of the new ones. The one I got didn't have thermal imaging, didn't have a searchlight, didn't have a broadcasting system. It definitely is an upgrade to what I got. I purchased the one with federal forfeiture money. This is obviously coming from federal forfeiture money. Not to say that's okay. As long as the people aren't paying for it, we should get anything. But when you look at something like this, you can use it for individuals that might be lost. Because of the thermal imaging now, you can see kids, adults, if we have walkaways. It is really quite a tool. And it has, there can be a use for the searchlight and broadcasting system. Now, if you ask why, it's just another tool that we have that if we needed something, the fire department also used ours. Anytime that they wanted something for, from any real serious large house fire to see, or a building fire or anything like that, we'd put the drone up. So the idea is it's just another tool that we don't have from the sky. That's something that we don't have at the police department. And as you know, other departments are having those sky lifts with security cameras. Are thousands and thousands of dollars. But they have sky lifts for events. They have things of that nature that are very expensive. But this is really quite a useful tool when you need it, when there's nothing else for you to see from above. And I think that's the main reason, Jim. It's something that we had. I didn't have the best because at that time the drones were just coming out, but it was an excellent tool if you needed it because nothing else has the ability to look from above. And they have to go to school. They have to be trained. They have to pass. I will say, for us to get a drone, all we had to do is get the FAA's. I think it was somewhat of a quasi permit, but just as long as they said it was okay, then we got it. But that's really basically.
Does this
I have a
replace,
few. Go ahead, Dave.
does this replace the existing drone? Is that being retired or?
I'm sure it will. I don't know what you can do with that other drone. It wasn't this expensive, obviously, and it's very old. It's old technology.
Okay.
I don't know what else you would do with it, to tell you the truth. Dave, I didn't get that from Doug.
Okay.
Is there any department policy or SOPs on SOGs limiting the use of the drone?
I had a policy from what is there. In other words, you only put it up in police activities and or emergencies.
So it couldn't be used for patrol or to violate curtilage, look in people's backyards, outside of hot pursuit.
Well, according to the United States Supreme Court, there's some new issues out now.
Well, that's why
About drones and the ability to, no, we never put it up to look in anybody's yard or look at you in the back there.
Oh, I was going to ask if it can be used for counting deer.
I guess it could be with a thermal.
I guess you could.
Yeah.
It could be. That's never thought of that just because they do it from the helicopter every year, but.
Bet your drone's cheaper than a helicopter.
Yeah, but we don't pay for that either.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The helicopter doesn't do thermal.
That's free.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm glad that Mr. Yeager brought this up. Can we be sure that if we do purchase this, that we do generate those SOGs and that this is not used in any other capacity, and that every resident on this island knows what the limits of the drone will be?
I will make sure that if the old policy isn't applicable, that a new policy will be done, and we will provide everyone here with it, and we will definitely be.
Has the police commission reviewed this? Is this their recommendation as well, or?
Well, we reviewed it at a meeting. It wasn't anything to the vote. Well, you know what? Maybe the last meeting we did vote on it. 2 meetings ago.
Well,
But,
just simply because the motion says to recommend, but not a recommendation by the police.
No, I don't think it was a recommendation. It was a recommendation by Doug. definitely because of the forfeiture funds and no cost to the taxpayers at all. But no, I will make sure that the policy is obviously congruent with all the Supreme Court rulings now that have come out, because there's some new rulings about what you can use a drone for, which we never used the drone for anything other than emergency issues or, as I said, and I count an emergency issue as looking for someone too.
No, I think there's definitely valid reasons and uses for such a tool, but as you know, a lot of tools can be used for nefarious reasons as well, so.
Joe, how long have we had the drone?
I purchased it about 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
And I know, and I've been around those 10 years, I have not ever heard a complaint coming to us regarding the use of a drone. So I would think with Joe saying that he will, I'm satisfied that Joe's going to look at the procedures, and if they need to be updated, he'll get them updated. I'm comfortable, going ahead with this.
I have one question regarding operational limitations in light of the fact that we have an airport down here, and there are limits as to how close drones can be used with airports. What do we know about that?
There is a limit. There is a limit for active airports, and we're counted as an active airport. So no, you can't fly the drone straight across. There are the FAA will, if they find you doing it, and I'm not sure, Carl, if they can see that on their radar, but anything, we will definitely be getting a call. But no, there is a limit to the airport.
And part of the training that goes into this covers all that.
And it is by the FAA.
Yeah.
Recreational drones have a map of areas you can go and not go, and the majority of the island is still covered. But yeah, down south here near the airport, you're not supposed to go.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion recommending the Township Board approval for the purchase of a DJI Matrice, 30T M30T complete drone kit from American Air Operations for $13,989.60. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Doug gets a new drone.
The township gets it.
All right, David.
Thank you. I'd like to make a resolution. Does this have to be stated as a resolution?
It's stated just as she has it.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the Grosse Ile Township Board hereby accepts and authorizes the purchase of a home located at 25146 Dallas, Grosse Ile, Michigan, 48138, identified as parcel number 73-027-0017-000 from the Wayne County Treasurer for the minimum bid offered on the right of refusal list of tax foreclosed property for the price of $18,596.42. This amount is the minimum bid price that was established and includes delinquent taxes, fees, penalties, interest, and any cost to date associated with preparing this property for auction and administering the sale.
Support.
Thank you.
Derek, can you put this up on the, he's going to put the picture of the house. Oh, you got it? Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, this is on Dallas. The $18,500 and some dollars is the basically that's the Wayne County. That's the amount of taxes that are owed on it. So Wayne County will be made whole. once they issue the deed back to the township, then we'll put it up for auction and sell it to the highest bidder above the 18,000. And it's rare that a house that at least looks like that from the outside. More often than not, they're vacant land that's tax foreclosed, but, and that's it.
Uda.
Yeah, a quick question. Obviously, there's the hope that we will gain much more than $18,596 from the sale of this property. And I know that the township will then reabsorb any quote-unquote profit. Do we already have an earmark or a purpose, or does this go into a particular fund that we maybe that we used to buy the property?
As far
How
as
does
I know,
that
it goes
work?
into general fund.
So we're using general fund to buy the property, and any proceeds from the sale go right back into general fund?
Correct.
And the fair market value of this property on our tax rolls is $240,000. And believe me, we get these foreclosures all the time, and the state has the first right of first refusal. If they don't take it, which they didn't, we come next, then it goes back to the county. And normally, it's just not worth taking, and we usually pass on them. This one, you can see this house is in nice condition from the outside. The value is certainly there versus the $18,000 to buy it, $19,000 to buy it. We certainly believe we're going to recoup our money and then some. I do have a question. In discussing it, you said we're going to put it up for auction. When you say auction, does that mean put a for sale sign on it, or do we have to actually auction it?
I didn't get a chance to talk to Tim or Margie today, but it's held by the assessor's office.
The auction.
Jim, isn't it when you get the
Usually what happens is you say, provide your best, highest offer by this date and time, and a sealed bid is normally the process that you go
And
through.
can we have a minimum, can we not?
Well, the minimum is the 18.6.
No, that's for us. That's for us.
Oh.
I'm talking about when we put it out, can we set a minimum?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna look at what the fair market is.
There-
And that was the only thing.
And
you
there-
know,
Grosse Ile-
I did question why it said auction.
Yeah, it's basically it's like a sealed bid process. So you would say on this date and time, you submit the best.
I understand
highest
how
bid.
it works.
Yeah.
I'm asking why does it have to be an auction?
Yeah, I think auction is probably not the correct term, based
I mean,
upon
'cause-
what you'd assume an auction would be, right?
Why can't we just put it up for sale?
We'll have to look into
In our
that.
regular-
My
okay, so-
experience with it has been a sealed bid at this
Okay,
this date
all
and
right,
time.
that's all.
I'd have to check on the legalities of it, but that has been the process I've been
All right,
experiencing.
all right.
There's a lot of communities that do this on a regular basis
Yeah.
as well, so it's a well-established process. Wyandotte is a good example. They would buy a lot of tax foreclosed
Yeah, they
homes.
do.
They would actually even partner sometimes with companies that would then buy them, and then they would fix them up because the city had an interest in who the purchaser ended up being and what the final use of that property was, and they would sell it not only in consideration of the monetary amount that the bid was, but also the final use of it or the potential investment in that property, right?
And Wyandotte probably is the best example of this being done. They do it quite regularly. Okay, other questions or comments?
Jim, are people or, let me back up so I get this straight. If it goes out for however you want to do it.
Yeah,
'cause
however
auction
it's going to
may-
be sold.
Yeah, however you do it. Are people allowed to look in it to see the value?
I believe they
I
are.
believe they are. We are not allowed.
Do we know it's not occupied?
Well, I think the question
Yeah, we
probably
do.
is, are they allowed to look in it as prior to submitting their bid? I
That's
think
what
the
I'm
answer
Yes,
is.
yes,
I
yes.
believe they are.
If
You
the
would-
inside's trash.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I believe, like you go, okay, this property's gonna be open to bidders to go through, from this date to that date, or this time to this time, and then, the bids will come in on such and such. It's part of the process, yeah, but they would. The public or whoever, wants to bid on it would be able to go through it.
Do we have any idea why this property is being let go for less than 10% of fair market value?
They didn't pay their taxes.
They didn't pay their taxes and
No, I
did not. Yeah, I mean, that, I question the same thing. Why not just sell it and pay off the taxes and walk away? But they didn't, and this is what happens.
I'm looking at a construction year of 1959, which suggests there may be the presence of asbestos and lead-based paint in that. Don't know what the condition on the inside of the house could be, whether there's chemicals or hazardous materials that have been stored there or whatever reason. I'm just looking at why Grosse Ile and the state of Michigan and everybody else involved is getting such a wonderful bargain for something that is less than 10% of fair market
And the only way you can do that is, the only one that knows is the owner who let it go.
In
And-
the 80s, it was beautiful. I've been in
Yeah.
We don't know anything about the owner that let it go.
I certainly don't want to talk about the owner.
I don't.
And her plight.
Is someone mowing it? I mean,
Oh, it's, this is a recent photo. I actually believe Margie and
And I'm-
Tim might have gone out and taken
And I'm not
it.
aware of the
Yeah.
township having it cut under an ordinance violation.
I mean, I'll just say, obviously I don't know very much about this. I just heard horror stories of people losing their homes for pennies on the dollar, so I don't know. I feel-
Yeah, and it does seem unfortunate that for whatever reason, this person just decided to just walk away from it.
Generally, what'll happen with these, if the township doesn't take it, then it would end up going to auction.
Yeah.
And be available.
It goes
for the-
back to Wayne County,
Right.
puts it in their,
in their land bank potentially, or they dispose of it through a public auction.
The person themselves, are they able to bid on it, or is there a process for that?
I believe that it wouldn't be prohibited.
They've already had the option to rescue. I would just remind us, a few years ago, we were donated a house that we then refurbished and sold to the benefit of the Grosse Ile Animal Shelter, and that turned out to be a very good situation for the township. So slightly different, obviously, but that house was also in less than optimal
that
condition.
yeah,
And
that house, both outside and in, looked very shabby at the time, and we went in and spent some money to and did better than very well on the sale.
I think Sunrise Park was another tax foreclosed property that
It-
the township did.
Wasn't it a Wayne County abandoned road end?
Road end.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
had
there was a
been
foreclosure
long-term leased by
component.
somebody.
Yeah, there was a foreclosure
Yes,
component.
there was
to it.
there was
Or maybe it was a right of first refusal, but maybe not through taxation forfeit.
Right.
Might have been, it was gonna go to public auction
Yeah.
if the township didn't
Right,
end up
right.
exercising
Yeah.
its right of refusal.
So at times, some good things come along, not often, unfortunately and fortunately, I guess. But other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have resolution for right of refusal to purchase tax foreclosed property. Recommendation that the Grosse Ile Township Board hereby accept and authorize the purchase of a home located at 25146 Dallas, Grosse Ile, Michigan, 48138, identified as parcel number 73-027-03-0017-000 from Wayne County Treasurer for the minimum bid offered on the right of refusal list of tax foreclosed properties for the price of $18,596.42. This amount is the minimum bid price that was established and includes delinquent taxes, fees, penalties, interest, and any costs to date associated with preparing this property for auction and administering the sale. All in favor, the resolution will do a roll call vote. Kyle?
Just one last question. Will will this come up for vote again before the auction? Yes? Okay.
Before the sale.
Before the sale?
Yeah.
Okay. Aye.
Yep. You were an aye?
Yeah.
Yay, okay. Carl?
Yay.
Uda?
Yay.
David?
Aye.
Jameson?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we can go ahead and hopefully make some money for the township here. All right, that is the last of our action items. Just give me a moment here. So we go back to public comment on any topic. 3 minutes, same thing, 3 minutes, your name and address. I'm going to actually start with Kathy because she was kind of interrupted in between, so I'll let her come up and excuse me, finish her presentation.
Well, I just wanted to thank you guys, because, it sat dormant for a while, and I was really afraid that it would go away, and the people on the island really like kayaking, and the people in the vicinity, and it's a wonderful, inexpensive thing, and it looks great. I mean, they put it together, and thanks to you, Jim, it was ready for the 4th of July, and like I said, 144 people liked it, and 13 comments, which is wonderful, and I went by tonight, if I was going to blow something off, if there was something on it, and it was just as clean as could be. And just so you know, we do have some safety. We have rules there posted, and there's safety things. And, be smart when you're kayaking. Always wear your vest and everything. And I think it's just a really inexpensive, wonderful facility. And I can't thank you enough, because the board really came through, because, it wasn't moving too well, and all of a sudden, it happened. Thank you again.
Glad we could help, Kathy. The young lady in the back. How are you?
But I'll take it. Marie Glovis, LaSalle Court. My comment is regarding action item 1 that was deleted from the agenda tonight. Greatly disappointed. I live in that neighborhood where this business has been operating for 3 years. 3 years, not 3 weeks, not 3 months, but 3 years, and we still don't have a decision made on this business being operating in a residential neighborhood. My child lives in that neighborhood. I have grandchildren in that neighborhood. And to not have a decision, for the board not to be prepared to vote tonight, is extremely upsetting. 3 years we've waited. We've gone through all the lines of the protocols that are supposed to be in place to take place, and not to have a decision on this tonight is greatly disappointing. And I think, frankly, a disservice to the people in my neighborhood as well as the community. So I hope your next session, everyone's prepared, your questions are answered, and we have a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Does Brian want to speak? No, okay.
He's showing me up there.
Hey, so Michelle Bartlett again, but I got approached about, it's not a big deal, and I'm sure you guys are probably already going to take care of it, but on Meridian by Lowry and by Ferry, all the construction cones, there's like a whole bunch of them. When you're driving down the road and you look to the right when you're coming from my house, There's a ton of them out there, the grass is growing over them, and then there was something, I think, that blocked the road, same thing, grass is growing over it, and then cones up and down the road. So I had somebody that approached me and was just asking if we could either have DPS pick them up, or if we, could call the company to get those out of there. Okay? And then on Fresh Start, I have some personal experiences that I won't go into, but I can imagine how frustrating it is for the people. I do think, though, like I saw some recent case law and some different things on it, and I do think it's important to get it right the first time. The party is represented. If you don't dot your I's and cross your T's, it will come back to haunt us. So as frustrating as it is, and I can only imagine, I'd rather see you get it right, and so that if it does come back to us, it won't be an issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Margaret.
Margaret Shelton, Bellevue Road. So I'm going to follow up to what Marie had said because I align to what she's saying. I've been involved in the meetings since April, and I know it's been going on prior to that, but formal meetings have been going on since April, starting with the Planning Commission with regard to Fresh Start. I'm not sure if it's just a gap in understanding any of this or what's caused the delay on a decision, but you can understand if you went back and watched any of those planning discussions, especially the very first meeting. There's a lot of passion around this. Again, it all aligns to the law. If you follow the law, the answer is very clear, in my opinion, based on all the ordinance information that we have. So I really hope, to her point, that we can get this into the next agenda and we can get this reviewed and we can put this behind us, because it's really important that we do this. This is one of those things where so many of the residents participated in. And I think it's a good thing to actually have people participate. There's passion around it, and it's for a very good reason, and the law aligns to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? Oh, Greg. How are you, sir?
Good. Greg, Karmazin, Easter. First of all, commend the board on the decision to table the agenda item on the GRS consultant. I think that's a good move. And I didn't mean to say that I had any questions or concerns about the reputation of GRS. They certainly are well known, as Treasurer Nadeau explained. However, it could be that the individual consultants for GRS that worked on it maybe have some explaining to do, because I still question how it is that a consultant's report could be used to justify ultimately a position of the township in litigation, which was proven to be demonstrably false. So I'll leave that to further discussion and examination. I also wanted to comment on the agenda item on the discussion item on the appointment to commissions. I just wanted to remind the board that back in 2022, the Grosse Ile Taxpayers Association had legal analysis done of the idea of having a sub-quorum of a public body make decisions in private. And the analysis that the attorney for Taxpayers Association came up with is that there is case law in Michigan that says you cannot delegate decisions of public bodies to sub-quorums and have meetings in private. That's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. So I would say that as you're working on any changes to the appointment process for commissions or any other purpose of the township, that you look at requirements that the idea that you can't violate the Open Meetings Act by having a sub-quorum or a committee or a subcommittee or group of individuals other than that public body meeting in private. So just, I would encourage you to review that legal analysis. And also on the draft of the policy and procedure change, on the issue of removal of commissioners, I do think that there should be some strengthening of that provision that takes into account the opinions of the commissioners and the commission, and perhaps even a little stronger language as to the justification that ultimately the board would have for removal. No question that the board needs to have the ability to remove commissioners, but I think that, without getting into past situations, we know that there's possibly some room for improvement in our process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Brian.
You son of a gun. Okay, Brian.
I do have one public comment tonight. Mark Mills, West River Road. Members of the board, unfortunately, I'm unable to make tonight's meeting due to business obligations. I'd like to urge the board to consider the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals decisions, recommendations with regard to the Jewish Fresh Start located at 28285 Meridian and their special land use requests. Both the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals voted against the requests. Simply put, their business model does not fit within a residential zoning requirement. I believe what they are doing is beneficial to their community, and Grosse Ile may be a great place for recovery. However, they need to operate in an appropriate zone district within our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Mills through Brian. All right. With that, we will move on to our discussion item. Kyle, do you want to bring this back, or do you want to go to Derek? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with. I mean, Derek took a lot of my suggestions and kind of put them in there.
You want
to added the removal part, but so yeah.
We'll kind of do this as a group thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I'll introduce it again for folks that maybe might not have followed. We have very specific processes for appointing folks to different commissions, but there are some commissions that under Michigan law are different in how those appointment processes are done. So what I suggested was just, even though the legal justification for those commissions is different, still trying to follow our just general application process. So that's what I suggested. I came up with some language last time. It looks like Derek took a lot of that language and put it in there in the discussion item. And I hear Greg's point too about just reviewing the removal provision, because that is something new that was put in there that I hadn't put in last time. So yeah, I don't know if Derek, you have anything to add.
Nothing, just, follow the directions that are on the agenda item report, which yellow lined through verbiage are deletes and blue highlighted are adds. I did try to take a lot of the comments that were made at the last meeting and incorporate those changes, adds, and deletes into this document. So as was discussed at the last meeting, wanted to bring it back to you for consideration, review, and additional suggestions.
That all? I mean, okay, go ahead, Uda.
So first of all, my apologies for not being at our last meeting. I was unavoidably out of town. I only have a question or an input of sorts. Kyle and Derek might be best to speak to this. First, when I first started on this board a long time ago, commission appointments were made essentially on a first-come, first-served basis. The then administrative assistant in the supervisor manager's office kept a list of people who had made applications to different commissions, etc. And when a vacancy came up, they would contact the next person on the list. The interviewing of candidates came much later, after we did have some, minor slips with commissioners. Maybe not fitting the profile, or maybe not being representative of the community at large. So it's been a slow path, sort of from, open house, everybody in, to now commissions and commissioners having interviews and doing interviews at meetings, like the Rec Commission interviewed candidates for its commission at meetings. I know we have to find that happy medium. At the same time, the ability to stack the deck of a commission exists, and so that a commission may choose people of its own liking, vis-a-vis echo chamber, maybe not choose someone who might have alternating or different points of view. So I just want to be careful as we start putting these things down in writing that maybe we have a minimum standard, maybe an age or experience or certain things that we want to make sure every candidate has. But then at the same time, create such a structure that it isn't automatic, that if you're not close to someone on the existing commission, that you're automatically going to get in. Because we've had that too, where commissions in the past have become a sort of fiefdom, right? And the commission ran itself and then told the township what to do, sort of thing, And I'm not talking about one particular commission, because it's happened on many others, all at different time periods. So that's just from my perspective, historically speaking, to be careful what we put in place here and how we do it.
And I truly think, because we're constantly dealing with people putting in, which people can put in 365 days a year. They don't have to wait for an opening to be there. If they want to be on a commission, they can put their application in and they wait until an opening comes. When that opening comes, all the applications, not one, no cherry picking, all the applications are given to the department head, or to the, if there isn't a department head, to the commission to look at and go through. Everything comes back to the board for final approval. So if something's hinky out there, obviously we have to be aware of it, but if it is, we have that, and we have the ability after, if we find out about it, to do something. You start getting real stringent. Number one, we're probably not going to get anybody to put in, because they're not going to meet this, they're not going to meet that. So it is a balancing act. You'd like to put in things. You'd like, if you're on the rec commission, all kinds of stuff about rec, not just you like rec. But there aren't a whole lot of people out there like that, and you're not going to get anybody to put in, or DPS, or police, or whatever. So I think we have to be flexible. I think the check is that it does come to the board for final approval, and nothing's going to be perfect, but you also, within this, have the ability, if it's not working out, to take care of that problem. They're not there for life. I'll tell you, there's been a lot of talk about putting, that you can only serve for so long, because we have people that you question, have they been there too long? But replacing them can be difficult also. So there's no perfect world out there. I think you have to have plenty of flexibility in your procedures and policies. I think what has been put in here is good. It allows that flexibility. That's my comment. David?
If I could, yeah. The only comment I have is in 9.1, where it talks about, posting the vacancies, and I'd like to see a time limit in there. Because sometimes if there's a vacancy on a rec commission, and it's important that these rec commissions commission appointments get filled relatively quickly. And maybe we already have 2 applicants on file. post it for another week, or something like that, but not open-ended where,
So what you're saying is we don't want to just, okay, we have 2 on file that have been there, 8 months. And now we have an opening come up, boom, those 2 go to that
would, but.
commission.
if you
But
wanna
you're saying
post it,
also allow for posting of it.
which is what I think Kyle changed this to.
Well,
Yeah, there's just a notice.
Combination of notes in this document, I think.
Yeah, 9.1 after, in the paragraph with where it says EEL camera.
that was so. You understand what he's?
Yeah, but are you talking about a time limit on applications received before you make a selection? Like, it's gotta be open for 6 months before you go ahead and.
Oh,
No,
no,
what
no.
he's saying is,
Don't leave it open for 6 months.
The opening comes to fruition. We have 2 on file. We're probably not posting that right now, because here we have some and it goes and they make a decision. What we're saying is, let's add a posting to those that we have on file, but limit the time that
14
that's out
days.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
something so that they can move it along and get.
Because if the process gets stalled, we don't want to stall the process at the beginning.
Yeah.
If it gets stalled because of the interview process, that's a different story.
And certainly that behooves the commission and the board to say these openings are there, as well as putting it up on our page and everything, to get it out there to the public in case you happen to be wanting to get on that commission now. You're not blocked because 2 guys put in 8 months ago and you're never going to see a posting. That sounds okay to me.
To try to come up with language to get what you're going at, Dave. So at 9.1, towards the end, a notice of vacancy and a call for volunteers will be listed on the township's website and posted at Township Hall, including a deadline of no more than 2 weeks for which applicants must be received. Does that sound good to you, Dave?
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't want it to be
Open-ended.
forever, and then somebody come back and say, well, I never got an interview, but we filled it 3 months ago, and you're just late to the table.
Okay. Any other comments?
14 days or whatever,
All right.
wherever the right language is there.
I'm good with that. No other comments. We'll move on to our reports. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I understand that Mr. Deputy Clerk Friel has some announcements to make, so I'm going to just hand it over to him.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, just quickly, I have some election updates. So, state primary elections, August 6th. Just a reminder, absentee ballots have now all gone out. Everything that we have in our office has gone out. And you cannot split your ticket, which means you must vote only one party. If you crossover vote, the entire partisan section will not count on your ballot. The nonpartisan proposal sections will still count. If you would like to request an absentee ballot, you can do that by mail, in person in our office, or through the Secretary of State website, where you can do it online. Early voting will begin Saturday, July 27th and continue through Sunday, August 4th. The hours of early voting will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thursday, July 18th at 4 p.m. is a deadline for candidates without a political party affiliation seeking partisan offices to file petitions and an affidavit for the November general election. Monday, July 22nd is the deadline to register by mail or online to be eligible to vote in the August election. Tuesday, July 23rd, in-person registration with your local clerk with proof of residency allowed between this date and election day. Tuesday, July 23rd at 4 p.m. is the deadline for candidates for local school board to file an affidavit and a nonpartisan nominating petition or $100 non-refundable fee. The school board has 2 open positions available in November. Friday, July 26th at 4 p.m. is the deadline for write-in candidates to file a declaration of intent form. And our next election commission meeting will be next Monday at 8:30 a.m. The agenda you can find in our meeting portal. We will also be doing our public accuracy test during that meeting. And that's all I have.
We were just discussing, we thought the election commission was at 9 a.m.
Right, but now that I've added the public accuracy test, I moved it up a half an hour because that will take a little bit longer than just our normal 10-minute meeting. So
Just want to make sure we're all there at the right time.
Yep, I moved it up. Sorry, that happened late this afternoon. So this is your
This
notice.
is our notice. Okay, that's
Well,
great.
Thank you, Brian. I just have one other thing to add, and I think it's pretty well known by now, but as the rec liaison, I feel it incumbent to say that you can now get tipsy at the Tipsy Fish.
Thank you, Uda. David.
Thank you. Okay, the 2024 summer property tax bills have been mailed to all Grosse Ile property owners of record. If you've not received a tax bill, please notify the treasurer's office to make sure we have the proper mailing address and to request a copy of the bill. These taxes are due by September 14th. However, eligible residents can apply for an extension of the summer tax bill due date until February 14th of '25, and these applications are available online at the treasurer's website or at the treasurer's office. And that's it from the, I do have DPS Commission. Regular commission meeting is tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock here in the boardroom. And the Airport Commerce Park Commission, their next meeting is next Monday, the 15th at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. And just a reminder to everybody that this weekend, Saturday the 13th, History on Wheels will be here at the airport in the hangar. Classic cars, motorcycles, a couple of planes from the Yankee Air Museum, and that, again, that's this Saturday beginning at 10 o'clock. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee reports. Jameson.
All right, good evening. The first thing I want to talk about is Step Up Swim. So last year, middle of September, I participated in the Step Up Swim, which is a 10K or 6.2 mile swim from Grosse Ile Yacht Club out to the the lighthouse. I don't know what the name, Lake Erie Light?
Detroit Lighthouse.
Detroit Light, the one out there. So you can see it out the window if you're curious. But so there's 33 swimmers. I believe we raised about $75,000 for the Step Up Foundation, which was founded by a woman named Sarah Wilkinson, whose husband Chad was a U.S. Navy SEAL who, at 21 years of service, took his own life. She donated his brain to science, and they discovered certain wounds on his brain that are subsequently caused by blast injuries. So these particular type of wounds just aren't found in civilians, right? So this organization is working to help identify some of these less visible injuries in our veterans. And I think it's a really great cause. So it's happening again this year, September 14th. I'll be doing the 6.2 mile swim. Last year we had, Navy SEALs, Special Forces, U.S. Coast Guard. I don't think every branch of the military was there, including the Space Force. So they were so far from space they were actually underwater. I'm sure it was very, very traumatizing for them. But so it's a great event. It's September 14th at Grosse Ile Yacht Club. So if you can support it or donate to any of the swimmers, doesn't have to be me, but we are a little bit competitive. So. Or even if you want to help support the event, or if you have a boat or you're a kayaker and you want to help provide an escort for a swimmer, those are all great ways to give back and do something that's pretty phenomenal. We'll arrive at the light around noon, and then last year we all took some really great photos. And it's just kind of a really cool event, right? And everybody's feeling awesome after swimming 6 miles or participating. So it's just a real feel good type of thing. So I'm going to follow that up with the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is the 23rd of this month, and we will hear an appeal. And that's at 6 p.m. And then the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee will meet on the 18th, and that's at 7:30 p.m. And I have nothing forward to report.
Thank you. That was a full report there, and good luck on your swim.
Thanks.
Joe?
Before I get going on my report, I have one question for Jameson. There was a website that I went on last year and put it under your name.
I can send you a link.
Well, do you know it so we can tell the people?
It's kind of a tiny URL, so
I don't know what that
I'll send you the link, Joe.
Okay. You got me. I don't know what was left here. All right.
Well, it's like a combination of letters and numbers that you wouldn't remember.
No, I get it. Just it was easier for me to go on the website to donate in
I'll send it to you.
your wonderful name. So, you good? All right. Anyway, I sit on the police commission. It's the third Tuesday of each month, right in this room at 7 p.m. And I would encourage anybody this month, if you have any questions on the upcoming millage renewal. Now, it is only a renewal coming up, but if you have any questions, please, you can always email Doug Carmack, or you can come to the commission meeting, ask your questions if there's anything you're wondering about. Because what this coincides with, this month, there will be an article in the Grosse Ile Grand, and what it will let you know is what you're basically getting for your money. And again, it is a renewal, and without this renewal, obviously it's a mathematical computation that you understand. People understand if the taxes are minused in a certain area. So, but I would suggest if you have any questions, contact Doug, contact me. I don't care. You can contact me on the mine is not J Porcerelli anymore. It's Joe Porcerelli at grosseile.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I know Doug would too. So. Also with the police department, unfortunately, we have 2 officers that are off on injury, and I'll keep you updated on that. Nothing serious, but hopefully they'll both be getting back to work on that. And also another area that I sit on is the McLeod Steel CAG, the Citizens Actions Group. And I know we've been talking about the signs that we were asking Wayne County to get, and they put out these certain signs that weren't very legible, as I can recall. And now I went by there the other day, and it was nice of them to put out the bigger signs for the hazardous water that they've found there. They have been putting it's like a large sump pump, I guess, for lack of a better term. That's what they would have there now. And hopefully the water, the acidic water, isn't draining onto the road where the bicyclists go through it, and the runners and the walkers. So hopefully that's going to help, and I appreciate that. And they finally, it took a little while, but they got some work done there. So once again, any other questions on the millage? It's very important. Please just go out and vote one way or another. You've got the early voting that Brian was talking about on what is the total of the early? Is it a week, Brian?
9 straight days.
9 straight days. Okay, so you can do that or show up on the voting day, but please just go out there and vote. Thank you. That's it, Jim.
A question, Joe, on the injured officers. Is it 2 in addition to the one that was injured last meeting, or 1 more?
No, it's the same. No, 2 including the one from last meeting. He's still off, and a new one is off now too. So hopefully they'll both get back soon.
Thanks, Joe. Kyle?
Yes, I sit on the Planning Commission, which meets on an as-needed basis. The next Planning Commission meeting is set for July 17th at 7 p.m. That is for a master plan land use workshop. As folks are probably aware, the survey has closed, but there's still opportunities to participate, including by showing up at that meeting if you would like to, or other meetings to tell us what you feel. So that is still going on. And that's it for the Planning Commission. I will start, though, by saying I think we buried some of the lead here. Summer tax bills went out, and they are less than they have been as far back as I was able to look in my records. The judgment millage fell off. And that should be hundreds of dollars back to people's wallets. So that is a huge deal, I think. Obviously, we had a police millage that was on the ballot that was voted down because people felt like taxes were too high. And that's what happens. Now taxes, I mean, we have to look at the whole year, but at least right now, there's some relief in people's pocketbooks. And I hope people consider that when they're thinking about the renewals right now. It's something I think we should shout from the rooftops, that taxes do sometimes go down, and in this case they did. So I'm grateful for that. I will say the two things. First, I think Marie Glovis left, but I wanted to thank her for her comments. They're well taken. I don't think now is the time to change planning processes or anything like that. And to be clear, tonight was not a planning process issue. It was just an issue of the information not surfacing at the time that we needed it to. So that I will take responsibility for in whatever way that I can. But it is important that we get these things done right. I think we are and will. And I'm hopeful that we'll have all the questions needed answered by our next meeting in July, which was what was promised at the Planning Commission meeting. It was uncertain when in July this would be solved, but I'm hopeful it'll happen by the next meeting. But either way, I hear the frustration very clearly. I'm not talking about this particular case necessarily, but I do think our planning and zoning processes take too long in general and are too complicated. So any ways we can simplify them, shorten them, make it easier for folks, I think it's something to consider outside of this process. But the time to change those processes are not now. So I just want to say I hear that. And I'll go to another area of frustration that I've had. We talked already about the Wayne County Bridge and the public hearing for quite some time now. It does appear, they gave us the information they did. I don't think it's not looking like we're going to get a public hearing anytime soon, but I still think there's ways to try to get at least some public, not necessarily information, but some ways to get some feedback back and forth to Wayne County, including showing up to some of their meetings. And they specifically have a committee on public service meeting where a lot of the individuals that we deal with are often present. So it's a way for us to be heard. We'll not necessarily get new information at those meetings, but I think it's a way to at least make some of our voices heard and make clear about some of where we stand on some things. So that's something that I'm going to be pushing and hope to send something out on pretty soon. So I will leave my comments there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I want to start out by thanking Ms. Bartlett for her observations about getting this right, as opposed to clock is ticking and we somehow, I happen to live in the neighborhood. I am absolutely convinced that it is 100% necessary to get this right. If it's not right, you're going to be downtown with the judge, and he or she will then ultimately make a decision that's got to be based on the township's ordinances, the township's interpretation of them. If we have questions, I don't want to jump the gun, have 2 years of litigation, thousands of dollars, and not get it right. I am frustrated as well, as has been said here earlier tonight, but my frustration is paling in comparison to getting it wrong. And I wanted to thank you for your comments on them, Ms. Bartlett. I thought they were very appropriate, frustrating, but you've got to follow the process. And I thank you for that. Second thing is that I do have the pleasure of sitting on the Fire Commission. Our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, July 10th at 5 p.m. in this room. That's a change from the normal 6 p.m. Hour earlier because of scheduling conflicts. Greenways Open Space I sit on. Our next meeting is going to be in September. And two last things. I was asked to write the article letter for the township in the July grand issue. It focuses on the renewal. There have been comments that were made about why it is the safest community in Michigan, and certainly has been the safest for so many years now. It's actually a privilege and a miracle to live here. Why do we need to be safer? I did not focus on the safety issue. I think, frankly, that is something that it is a safe community. And what is the price of having an extra officer or personnel in order to stay the safest community? I focused on the contents of the services that the police department provides And there are a whole host of them. And I will tell you, I ran out of space before I ran out of topics. So when you look at the renewal, please educate yourself as to what you are renewing for. I'm not advocating one way or the other than simply saying knowledge is key. Make sure you understand what you're voting for. It's not just the safety aspect, but it is also the services that are rendered. All of what I refer to, again, is part of the Grosse Ile experience, and it is a wonderful community to live in. We do things that no other communities do. And one of those things is now an annual event. It is the Steve Sims 5K race and 1 mile fun run walk, in person and virtual. That is scheduled for Saturday, August 17, 2024. Please register at runsignup.com. That's runsignup.com. All proceeds go to the Steve Sims Leadership Scholarship Fund. And I don't know if everybody out there that graduated from Grosse Ile that had Steve would certainly remember him. Just a fine educator and a great man. It's very worthwhile. Please think about that. Make the donations, and recognize that that also is part of the Grosse Ile experience. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Carl. Derek, if you would.
Good evening. Just a few items this evening. First and foremost, I wanted to draw attention to an organization downriver that helps with senior services, the Senior Alliance. They are going to be having a couple of community presentations, one on July 19th and another on August 29th, in which you can attend and learn about the variety of different services the Senior Alliance provides. So please take advantage of that if you have any questions, but they provide information or assistance with things like Medicare, tax filing, a lot of different services that you might not be aware of as a senior that they can assist you to take advantage of and to help out on a daily basis. The second item I wanted to draw the residents' attention to is a mailer that they would have received about a week and a half ago. That's our Grosse Ile Consumer Annual Report on water quality. So we're required by the state to issue this every year. It is always 1 year behind, so your 2023 is received in 2024 and so on and so forth. So that isn't a misprint or a copy of last year's. That actually is the current one you would have received. So under the state law, we're required to distribute information about the contents of your water that you consume at your household. We are a customer at GLWA, so a lot of the information in there comes from GLWA. As a customer, we basically distribute their water. But if you haven't ever had any questions about what is in your drinking water, it's a good document to review and keep on record for reference. I have a couple other quick items, public service related. The township does plan on doing dust control next Monday. So what happens prior to dust control is grading work. The county will come through and grade the dirt roads. That should happen at the tail end of this week. And then dust control would be starting the 15th and usually is concluded within 2 days. So it should be wrapped up by the 16th. And that is weather dependent. So those residents that live on dirt roads, please do not park on the dirt roads. Stay off of them directly off of them right after the application to avoid getting the material on your vehicles. But that is slated for next Monday, the 15th. Crack and joint sealing work that the township is going to be doing with your road maintenance dollars. We're planning on doing work on Horse Mill, Hickory Circle, Stout, Canal, and Church starting next Monday as well, the 15th. So in those areas, please park off the road as well. Push notifications will be distributed prior to these events happening. So you will get an additional notice prior to them actually occurring, but just wanted the residents in those areas to be aware of what's going on. And then last but not least, the township will be starting its state-required lead service inventory. So those residents that will be impacted by lead service work, which will happen on the start on the 15th, will be notified at their home. So they'll have a flyer or something that'll be distributed to them, which will tell them what will be happening on their property. Under the regulations, we're required to actually daylight the service line to verify its material condition. At this point in time, we only have about 50 residences that will be impacted, mostly in the middle part of the island. But you will receive notice about what is going to occur, what they're looking for, how they're going to restore the property. So if you get a flyer at your door and you have any questions about what that flyer says or the work that's being performed, please contact Township Hall and we'll advise you of what's going on. And last, I wanted to chime in on what Kyle had mentioned. The summer tax bills represent about a 12 to 13% reduction from what they were last year. So this isn't 12 to 13% across your whole entire tax bill, but your summer tax bill. But it can be quite significant. So as Kyle had mentioned, anytime that we have a reduction, we want to make sure the residents are aware of it. We have gotten a number of comments here at Township Hall as people have been coming in to pay, asking why. It is because some of that sewer debt is starting to fall off now. So we're realizing some of that benefit in a lower tax bill. So with that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you,
Derek. I just have a couple of quick things. DDA, the fourth Thursday, which is July 25th, 6:30 in this room. A number of my fellow board members have talked about the Jewish Fresh Start delete. I just want everybody to know, no one on this board takes anything lightly. And we did grudgingly have to take it off because the questions weren't answered, and this is a very important thing that we have to get right. So we need the answer to our questions, and it was a matter of what was presented to us as an action item and what was behind that or was lacking to be behind it, and we just needed to get that information. So it will be coming back at a future meeting. So you don't have to worry about it going away. It's not going to go away. It will come back to us. And lastly, just on a personal note, I would like to wish my lovely wife Maureen a happy anniversary. Thank you for 54 wonderful years. So thank God I have her, or not necessarily that she has me, but she's a wonderful woman, and thank you, Maureen. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.